So much of the conversation online is about the technical thing, but people aren't talking about the actual AI lyric. Some people can't tell a good song from a not so good song. If you had one top tip uh, for people who want to get better at their songwriting and use AI tools to help them out along the way, what would that top tip be?
Well, you just brought it up. One of them, I mean, there's a number of them, but that one in particular, which is how do you know it's a good song? How do you know it's a good lyric? Um, and the answer to that is you only know because your emotions tell you
Hmm.
that it is. And you say, if you write a lyric and you say, that's what I wanted to say, that's what happened, that's how it felt, then that's a good lyric. It expresses what you feel. That's a good lyric. I've said that for years and years. It's in all my books. It's in everything. Any song you write that expresses what you feel honestly and authentically is a good lyric. Now, when you do that, that doesn't mean that a listener will immediately and quickly and totally get it. That's the difference. And when people say, is that a good lyric or not? A lot of times what they're asking is, will listeners like my lyric?
Hmm.
Yeah, and I think that's perfectly legitimate. That's validation for your lyric, for your experience that you had, that you put into your lyric. There's so much that's going on there that between you and listeners, that's a whole nother level beyond it's a good song because it expressed what happened to me and what I felt.
On your blog, you talk about your experience trying out AI tools for lyric writing.
I did. I checked Suno.com and I checked ChatGPT. Both of them have the same problem and they are repeating things they've heard. They're like little kids parroting things they've heard. And to write lyrics like that means that your lyrics don't really connect with listeners. And that's a real problem because as a lyric writer, that's exactly what you need your lyrics to do. This is Suno.com's Rami custom lyric. Emotional, heartfelt, romantic song about a first meeting. It gave me something called Moonlit Dance. This is what it did here. We were young when we first met. As an opening line, that's kind of a loser because you are young when you first meet. Probably you might say, well, we were along in years when we first met because that would be unusual. But to say we were young when we first met, that's normal. So you're kind of throwing that away, saying something that, obviously you would already know. We were young when we first met, and I will never forget. Well, you're writing a song about it. Of course you haven't forgotten. Right away, AI is throwing stuff away. It's throwing lines away, and you don't have much real estate in a lyric. Really, couple of verses, one chorus that gets repeated, and a short bridge. That's it. That's all you got. And listeners are not going to be interested in those two lines. We were young when we first met. Who cares? Okay, so remember, listeners are strangers. You have to capture their interest in the first few lines. So here's the next two lines. The moonlit dance of you and I. That sounds like a nice kind of relationship thing. I like it. It's got a nice image in it. Moonlit dance. I like it. Our shadows in the sky. How about our shadows across the sky, our shadows under starry skies? I mean, something to fill that out a little bit. But I really think the song actually starts here with verse 2, as songs often do. We were young and we were wild. Ha! Now there's an opening line that I really think listeners might like. We were young and we were wild. Listener, tell me more about that. So if that's what you want to talk about, start there. Drop the listener right into the middle of it. We were young and we were wild, and I was happy as a child. This is AI talking right to you. It makes no sense at all to say, and I was happy as a child. Okay, so what we want to do is say something that follows, we were young and we were wild. So I might take what AI gave me there, because I really like that line, and I might follow it with something like, we lit the fuse and shut our eyes. Ah, now I've got something to start a song. I've got an idea of like a bomb about to go off. The thing's about to explode. Well, the listener's really going to want to stick around and see what that's going to do. Okay, so we were young and we were wild. We lit the fuse and shut our eyes. Let me put that in there. Okay, now what happens next? When you whispered in my ear that love is something we should fear. And I had read this line, that love is something we should fear. That says can be dangerous. That's a whole song. You can't just have that hanging out there. You have to lead up to that. So we lit the fuse and shut our eyes. Let's put then instead of when. We'll put then. You whispered in my ear that love is something we should fear. Now we've got an interesting song. It may not be anything you set out to write, like an emotional, heartfelt, romantic song about a first meeting. It's not even close to that. But it gave you a great idea, or gave me a great idea for a song I would like to write. Now I've got the inspiration turned on. I'm excited about it. Now I'm going to go ahead and work on the song that starts with this. We were young and we were wild. We lit the fuse and shut our eyes. Then you whispered in my ear that love is something we should fear. Beautiful. Next line. Actually, AI did it here. They did the right thing, but we were brave enough to take the leap. I don't think it's the first line of a chorus. It's too complicated. It's continuing the storyline. Choruses should just be about emotion, and this is more than that. So I would call this pre-chorus right there, a line that leads us into the chorus, but we were brave enough to take the leap. Okay. And that will lead you into, and look what happened. And then after the pre-chorus, what you need to do then is to feel what it feels like to leap into a dangerous love and say, what does that feel like? Now you're flying on your own. You're not using AI at that point because AI can't do it.
So after seeing this, do you think AI can write a good song?
Well, no, I don't. And I think I just showed the reason why. At this point, we are not threatened by AI because AI doesn't think like a human. A lot of times in a song and in real life, we'll say something, maybe even a cliche, and then we'll follow it by another line that explains it or gives more insight into it. And this is a basic structure, line structure for lyric writing. But AI can't do it. It doesn't seem able to give you one line and then give a line that follows naturally from it as if you just thought of it. AI does not think and AI does not feel. You have to have both to be a songwriter. And I don't see that on the horizon anywhere.
How do you tell if the lyrics that AI is generating are good?
Okay, so this is one. This is one
Yeah.
way. So specifically, one of the things that you want to do, which we just saw, is make sure that the song is about something that listeners can relate to, that listeners can understand and engage with, like we lit the fuse and closed our eyes and jumped right into love. Listeners get that and they want to, and they relate to it. So that's one. Another one is when we write a line, generally we continue that thought in some way. We don't, I mean, there are definitely what we call non sequiturs where you say do you walk to school or carry your lunch? That's a non sequitur. They don't have anything to do with each other. That's very typical of AI. That's why songcraft is important, is because then you begin to look at, does my lyric track? I always like to say the first draft, just go for it. Write down what you feel, write anything your inspiration gives you, just put it all in there. Say, thank you, inspiration. I'm not turning anything off. I'm taking it all. And you just turn on the faucet, let it go.
Right.
But then that's when that lyric is not done. And a lot of people stop at that point and say, oh, I'm done now. It says everything I had to say and it was all inspired. And isn't it wonderful? The problem is when you take that lyric out and listeners don't respond the way you want them to, it's because you didn't go to the second draft and say, okay, do all the lines I put in there belong in there? And we did that today. We noticed a number of lyrics that had lines that didn't track and didn't make sense in the order they were in or didn't make sense together. So we pulled out those lines and we wrote the line that belonged there in order to make that thing track for the listener. You still want to say what you want to say. You know what you want to say. You still want it to do that, but you want it to do in a way that the listener can follow. If you lose your listener, that's up to you. You know, if you didn't, you lose your listener, you didn't use enough songcraft. So you want to go to your second draft and use songcraft that we've been talking about today to make that song track so that listeners can stay with you.
Mm-hmm.
I always say, and I think one of the most important things you can do as a songwriter is to have your listener right by your side as you rewrite that first draft. Is they're right there and they're going, what? I didn't understand that. What do you mean by that? I don't know. Oh, I did feel that. That happened to me too. It's almost like you can imagine them sitting being really annoying the whole time, you know, but they're there. And because we write alone or we write in our bedrooms, you know, and we write our own stories, and we know our story, we already know what happened and what we felt. It's easy to forget about the listener. After you do that first draft with all of the inspiration and all the emotion you can pack into it, then you go back and you say, does this track, does it make sense? Am I making the listener feel what I felt? Am
Mm-hmm.
I comparing my love to an endless river that never stops flowing? Maybe I should do that so that they can picture something or feel something and relate to it. So those are all songcrafty things. You can learn those from books,
Mm-hmm.
courses, from just studying hit songs,
Mm-hmm.
which is what I've done for the last 25 years. I've been studying successful songs to understand what they're doing. And this is all the stuff that I come up with because it's what they do.
Mm-hmm. I'd love for anybody to be able to get in touch with you. So again, all of the links will be in the description box below. And thanks so much for joining us here today.
Thank you. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. All right. I'll see you guys in the next video.